This is for today, a dramatic reading. Okay. As the tributes stand on their podiums, the horn sounds. Doo-doo, doo-doo. Charlotte runs away from the cornucopia. Netball finds a canteen full of water. Melissa grabs a sword. Caitlin Ingram runs away from the cornucopia. Ken stays at the cornucopia for resources. Alan runs away from the cornucopia. Principal runs away from the cornucopia. Calvin finds a bow, some arrows, and a quiver. Mrs. Wolf grabs a backpack, not realizing it is empty. Tech crew grabs a backpack, not realizing it is empty. Paul runs away from the cornucopia. Sorry, you're a woman. Sophie finds a canteen full of water. Miss Ward runs away from the cornucopia. Jordan runs away from the cornucopia. Band rips a mace out of David's hands. Like, all of them together. Ronnie runs away from the cornucopia. Hose finds Naomi hiding in the cornucopia and kills her. Ooh, I think she's like the first one to be... Oh, Liz accidentally steps on a landmine. Libby Davis pushes Shirley off a cliff during a knife fight. Mr. Wolf runs away from the cornucopia. Alex stays at the cornucopia for resources. Mr. Wolf sees smoke rising in the distance, but decides not to investigate. Libby Davis goes hunting. Paul and David hunt for other tributes. Jordan defeats Hose in a fight, but spares their lives. Ronnie sees smoke rising in the distance, but decides not to investigate. Alan repeatedly stabs Band to the death. Whoa. Okay, Calvin and Sophie work together for the day. Tech crew falls into a frozen lake and drowns. Alex fishes. Principal diverts Miss Ward's attention and runs away. Melissa defeats Netball in a fight but spares her life. Caitlin Ingram thinks about home. Mrs. Wolf receives an explosive for an unknown sponsor. Charlotte kills Ken with a hatchet. Oh my goodness. Okay, 6 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Naomi, District 10. Liz, District 8. Shirley, District 6. Band, District 4. Tech Crew, District 4. Ken, District 6. Night 1. Charlotte attempts to start a fire but is unsuccessful. Paul and Mrs. Wolf huddle for warmth. Oh, getting in. You are in, my brother. Anyway, Ronnie defeats Netball in a fight but spares her life. Jordan receives an explosive from an unknown sponsor. Melissa goes to sleep. Calvin goes to sleep. Alan sees a fire but stays hidden. Principal, Caitlin Ingram, and Mr. Wolf get into a fight. Caitlin Ingram triumphantly kills them both. Libby Davis cooks her food before putting her fire out. Miss Ward, Alex, and David cheerfully sing songs together. My mind today! Anyway, Sophie climbs a tree to rest. Hose loses sight of where she is. Wow. This is going great. Okay, day 2. Mrs. Wolf picks flowers. Sophie, Alex, Miss Ward, and Charlotte hunt for other tributes. Melissa makes a slingshot. Caitlin Ingram injures herself. Calvin bashes Netball's head in with a mace. Wow, he doesn't like spores. Yeah. Ronnie is pricked by thorns while picking berries. David steals from Paul while he isn't looking. Alan receives clean water from an unknown sponsor. Hose makes a slingshot. Jordan stalks the Libby Davis. Yeesh, that's pretty creepy. Whoa. Okay. 3 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Principal, District 11. Mr. Wolf, District 7. Netball, District 12. Beautiful. Okay. Night 2. Hose receives clean water from an unknown sponsor. Calvin receives medical supplies from an unknown sponsor. Miss Wood severely injures Melissa and leaves her to die. Oh! Jordan, David, Caitlin Ingram, and Ronnie tell each other ghost stories to lighten the mood. Sophie destroys Alex's supplies while he is asleep. Charlotte quietly hums. Libby Davis and Ellen talk about the tributes still alive. Mrs. Wolfe questions her sanity. Paul passes out from exhaustion. Okay. Day 3. Miss Ward receives an explosive from an unknown sponsor. Calvin forces Ronnie to kill Alan or Sophie. He refuses to kill, so Calvin kills him instead. Oh no! Wait, no. Calvin forces Ronnie to kill Alan or Sophie. She refuses to kill her, so Calvin kills her instead. No! No, this is what I get. This is the stab in the back. Like, literally, almost. Okay. Paul dies from hunger. Jordan begs for Caitlin Ingram to kill him. She refuses, keeping Jordan alive. Mrs. Wolfe and David split up to search for resources. Alex tends to Charlotte's wounds. Libby Davis receives clean water from an unknown sponsor. Hose questions her sanity. Well. Okay, 3 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Melissa, District 11. Ronnie, District 1. Paul, District 3. Man. Okay, night 3. Miss Ward ambushes Hose and kills her. Charlotte receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. Caitlin Ingram and Alan huddle for warmth. Calvin begs for David to kill him. He refuses, keeping Calvin alive. Alex severely slices Jordan with a sword. Wow. Sophie, Mrs. Wolfe, and Libby Davis cheerfully sing songs together. How nice. Miss Ward picks flowers. Ow! David, Alan, Sophie, and Libby Davis raid Mrs. Wolfe's camp while she is hunting. Charlotte is pricked by thorns while picking berries. Calvin discovers a cave. Alex attacks Caitlin Ingram, but she manages to escape. 2 shots can be heard in the distance. Hose. Anyway, District 5. Jordan, District 5. Okay, so Hose is dead and so is Jordan. At least they went at the same time. Okay, Mrs. Wolfe stays awake all night. Alan receives medical supplies from an unknown sponsor. Sophie tends to her wounds. Calvin, David, Caitlin Ingram, and Charlotte tell each other ghost stories to lighten the mood. Alex tends to Miss Ward's wounds. Ooh. Libby Davis screams for help. Okay, day 5. Miss Ward receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. Charlotte sees smoke rising in the distance but decides not to investigate. Alex tends to Mrs. Wolfe's wounds. Sophie attacks Caitlin Ingram but she manages to escape. Alan hunts for other tributes. David searches for firewood. Calvin and Libby Davis split up to search for resources. Okay, no cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Okie dokie, nobody died. That's good. Okay. Night 5. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Alex tends to his wounds. Caitlin Ingram quietly hums. David and Mrs. Wolfe talk about the tribute still alive. Miss Ward stabs Charlotte while her back is turned. Grisly. Alan and Calvin run into each other and decide to truce for the night. Sophie starts a fire. Libby Davis is unable to start a fire and sleeps without warmth. Okie dokie. The cornucopia is replenished with food, supplies, weapons, and memoirs from the tributes' families. Alex decides not to go to the feast. Caitlin Ingram checks down and kills David. Oh, Libby Davis gathers as much food into a bag as she can before fleeing. Mrs. Wolfe spears Calvin in the abdomen. Alan decides not to go to the feast. Thanks, Mrs. Wolfe, for that. Okay. Sophie stabs Miss Ward with a tree branch. Yeez. Okay, day 6. Alan, Mrs. Wolfe, and Alex hunt for other tributes. Libby Davis attacks Caitlin Ingram, but she manages to escape. Sophie dies from hunger. Yeesh. 5 cannon shots were going to be heard in the distance. Charlotte, District 12. David, District 2. Calvin, District 1. Miss Ward, District 8. And Sophie, District 2. Okay, night 6. Alan attempts to start a fire but is unsuccessful. Libby Davis retrieves a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. Alex stabs Mrs. Wolf with a tree branch. Ooh, they were just like cuddling before or something. Caitlin Ingram cooks her food before putting her fire out. Day 7, Libby Davis overhears Alan and Alex talking in the distance. Caitlin Ingram discovers a cave. 1 cannon shot can be heard in the distance. Mrs. Wolf, District 7. Night 7. Libby Davis strangles Alex with a rope. Yeez. Alan thinks about winning. Caitlin Ingram falls into a frozen lake and drowns. Oh. Alan kills Libby Davis with a hatchet. 3 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Alex, District 3. Caitlin Ingram, District 9. Libby Davis, District 9. The winner is Alan from District 10. Well, you heard it here, ladies and gents. That was intense. I mean, who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it?